and I've been asked to provide some career highlights very quickly. And I wish I could tell you that this human resources career was strategically planned out to end up at Girl Scouts. I can tell you that I started making mistakes right from the very beginning. I arrived as a first-generation college student at a liberal arts institution, and they were asking, what do you want to do in your career? And I had told the counselor, oh, I want to become an accountant. And he said, well, this isn't a trade school. I didn't know the difference between a liberal arts school and a college that you can do anything else. So I instantly said, okay, I have to figure out something else to do. So what I did some research and figured out that a lot of people who were CEOs at companies and the like had sales in their background. So I figured, okay, I have to get sales experience. So I ended up doing a summer internship working for Southwestern Corporation, selling books door to door in Georgia, no salary, commission only, and you had to convince people to give you half the money for these books that you were selling them, and that you would come back at the end of the summer. Now, you had no car, again, to get the vehicle, to get the books back. You had to find your own place to live. You had to figure out how to pay rent. You had to get enough deposits to pay your food and everything else. You worked 6 days a week, 75 hours a week. But by doing that, that experience set me up for being able to compete for an IBM internship the following summer. And I worked at IBM that summer, and I was able to secure that internship and did well and got a job offer a year in advance. But that experiences, those two, set me up for having 5 job offers when I graduated in the middle of a recession. So I worked, and as an undergraduate, I figured out that I wanted to do human resources, and I figured, well, do sales first. So I did my time in HR, and I worked at a company, and none of you will know this because you're probably too young. They had a full employment policy at IBM, which means that they didn't lay people off. They hadn't ever laid people off, even during the Depression. So I'm ready to go into human resources. Well, guess what? They had too many human resources people. I'm in sales. So I have to decide, do I stay and wait 10 more years or do I leave? So I ended up sending applications around. Ended up at the Human Resources Management Program at GE, which happened to be the best human resource management program in the country. I did my time at GE. I did 7 years there, had a great experience there, and decided to go to Time Warner and worked as a manager of corporate human resources there. And from there, I decided to go to take a sabbatical for a year. Did that, did some volunteer work and the like, and then ended up coming back to IBM in human resources, which was the original plan. Again, this was no plan. Nonprofit was not part of any thought of this. One day I get a call from a search firm about Girl Scouts having an HR job, and I said, HR, nonprofit, Girl Scouts. I tried to refer them to other people, but they kept calling friends of mine. I said, okay, fine. I'll go in and interview because maybe when I retire, I'll look at doing something like this. So I go in, I retire, and say, oh, this is a real organization. This is really, and I had to make a decision regarding if I really do value having an impact, and I spend all this time in every job I've had since graduating from college, doing volunteer work in some way or another, do I want to do my values and have an impact, or do I want to stay within the corporate environment at that time? And I decided I had no choice but to join Girl Scouts in a human resources capacity. And that's where I've been for the last 12 years. But again, a series of mistakes along the way in terms of getting to this particular post. The thing I would suggest in terms of career advice, one, I would say take risk. I mean, going to the South, sleeping on floors and all kinds of other things, being chased by dogs and books and the like, that really opened up a lot of doors. I wouldn't suggest it for everybody, but it did. Going to Canton, Ohio when I was at GE Capital, when everyone said, stay at corporate headquarters in Connecticut. Why go to Canton? There's nothing to do there. You're going to disappear. No one's going to know who you are. It ended up being a transformative experience because I had a chance to set up a human resources department from scratch. None of my peers had that opportunity, and I ended up getting the Pinnacle Club Award for the top achiever in the entire division because of that, and that opened up additional doors. You take risk, and if you succeed at them, people notice, which is how you get mentors and sponsors and the like. So think about the risk that you take. It's how you learn, and it's how you grow. The other thing I would say is take control of your own career development. I hate to say it, but everyone doesn't have a manager who's going to sit down and really work on your development plan and give you opportunities to develop, or even if they do, they might not have the budget to do it and the like. You're responsible for taking charge of your own development. So if you're doing the same thing that you did last year and you haven't developed a new set of skills, that's not your manager's fault. It's your responsibility, and you really have to take control of that. That might mean volunteering for a special assignment at work, getting cross-trained on something at work, volunteering for some kind of initiative that's new. It might mean taking a risk of some sort. Or if you can't do it at work, find some other place where you can make a difference and make a contribution. So think about those things in terms of managing your career, in terms of where you want to go. You have to have a plan, because if you don't, you can't depend upon someone else doing that for you. And the last thing I'll say, and I'll wrap up, which is always think about how you can help others. If you're at the beginning of your career, you can give career advice to college students. If you're in the middle of your career, you can give advice to your peers or employees who work for you, etc. None of us get to where we are without help, support, and guidance along the way. I mean, I've made a number of mistakes along the way. Going to Jacksonville, Florida, when everybody said go to Washington, D.C., I didn't think. But again, if you ask people's advice and get people around you, these people around you need your help and your advice. And you can make a difference in their lives, even if you are at the emerging levels of your career, because there's people who don't know what you know, and take that opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others. And with that, I'm going to begin by asking the panelists a couple of questions, and whoever wants to answer can answer, and we will move to that section. And the reason that I appear to be moving quickly is that I have someone at the front row who has a very threatening look, and she is the one who's managing my time schedule. And she's indicating by her impressions, Michael, you're behind schedule.